Asi před 10 rokama jsem držel v ruce, nebo před 8 jsem držel poprvé v ruce knížku Brand Gap a tahle ta knížka mi úžasným způsobem zarezonovala a řekli jsme si, že by bylo strašně fajn, kdyby ty myšlenky, které se v knížce ukazují a objevují, kdyby se staly součástí našeho jazyka, se kterým mluvíme s našimi klienty, a kdyby se staly součástí komunikace, protože pak by se nám všem pracovalo podstatně jednodušeji. A tak jsme knížku Brand Gap před 4 rokama vydali a šířili jsme ji po českém trhu. Potom Marty vydal další knížku a pak vydal další knížku a pak se pustil do osvěty kolem brandingu a tak jsme si říkali, že by bylo fajn se s Martym potkat osobně a od toho už byl jenom kousek k tomu, aby jsme ho pozvali sem do Prahy. Pustili jsme se do toho, za cenu jistých obětí se to zdá se podařilo, protože Marty tady stojí, takže to vypadá, že se to nakonec celý povedlo. Chtěl bych vám popřát jako příjemný zážitek, chtěl bych vám popřát, abyste zažili ten pocit čerstvého vzduchu, který jsme zažili my, když jsme poprvé otevřeli Brand Gap. Užijte si to, šiřte to a pošlete to dál. Děkuji za pozornost a Marty, it's just your time.
Děkuji, Tomáš. Hello. Dobrý den. My first time in Prague. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. I think I'm going to move here. It's beautiful buildings, lovely situation by the river. Beautiful. Okay, so I come from California, Silicon Valley. And I'm lucky in a way because Silicon Valley is probably the most competitive business environment in the most competitive country in the world, right? And because it's so competitive, we've all learned a lot of things about business, a lot of new things that other people don't know. So what I want to do today is share everything I know about branding in 2 hours. Okay, you ready for that? If you manage to grasp these principles in 2 hours, you will know more than 90% of what people in the United States marketing community know. You'll know more, okay? This is not stuff that everybody knows already. So this is fairly new even for the US. Okay, so what I want to do is explode 13 myths about branding, okay, through the course of the 2 hours. And we will do 2 exercises, one before the break and one after the break, so you get a chance to practice some of this stuff. So pay attention, because it's important for the rest of the presentation. Okay, so the first myth is that the logo is your brand, okay? A lot of people say to the design firm, can you make the brand bigger on the package? No, you cannot make the brand bigger on the package, but you could make the logo bigger. All right, so the logo is only a symbol for your brand. It's not the brand. So the wonderful Nike swoosh that everybody knows is a nice symbol, but it's not the brand. The brand is something much more. Second, the brand is not a corporate identity. Maybe some of you are familiar with these guidelines that companies put out telling you, what color to use, what typeface to use, where to position elements on a page or on a package or on a TV screen, on a website. Very necessary, but they're not the brand either. That's just the identity. It's the look and feel of the brand, but not the brand itself. Right? And finally, a brand is not a product. So, you know, the guy who manages Ivory Soap at Procter & Gamble, he talks about his brand Ivory, but it's not really his brand, it's his product responsibility. He manages a product, but the brand is still something else. It's not a product. So people use that a lot. They say, I buy this brand or I manage this brand. Not really. You don't buy a brand and you don't manage a brand. Well, you could manage a brand if you know what you're doing. So what is it? What is a brand? Okay, you ready? It's a person's gut feeling about a product, a service, or an organization. That's what it is. It's a gut feeling. It's a gut feeling because we make our buying decisions with our emotional brains. We don't make it logically. We think we do, but really not so much. And so you have to understand that if you're in marketing, that we're talking about emotions here that are driving all these sales. And it's a person's gut feeling, not a company's, will that it's imposing on people. It's really about customers. So, in other words, it's not what you say it is, it's what they say it is, right? You have to look at it from the other way around. And once you do that, everything about your job changes. You start to realize that, wait a minute, it doesn't matter what I think I'm saying, it's what they're getting that counts. So we better find out what they're getting from what we're saying. All right? Okay, but if you're going to boil down everything about branding and say, why is branding important to companies? It's because of this. It lets you get more people to buy more stuff being products, services, experiences, for more years at a higher price. So selling at a lower price is not branding. That's the opposite of branding. Branding increases profit margins. That's the whole idea. You can still have a discount product, but you still want the highest profit margins you can get. And people are willing to pay more for something they love. That's simple as that, So there's a huge profit-making potential in branding that once you understand branding, you can apply it to your company. Here's a good example. Coca-Cola, what is it? It's just sugar water. Colored sugar water, so I guess that's more than just sugar water. But look at the value of the brand here. So the company is worth $50 billion, its assets, its hard assets, but the brand with that is $120 billion. So we've got $70 billion worth of brand value, right? That's intangible. So let's just say that at Coca-Cola, all the buildings burned down or fell down overnight. Everything was destroyed, including the famous Coca-Cola formula. Everything was gone. They could still walk into a bank and get a loan to rebuild the whole company just based on the value of their brand. So is it worth investing in? Yeah, you bet it is. Okay, second myth. Branding is a form of advertising. All right, this is totally wrong, completely wrong. It's the other way around. Advertising is a form of branding. Advertising is an input to branding, right? You build a brand in a lot of ways, and advertising is one of them. That's all. So advertising agencies would love to have it the other way around and say, well, we do branding in addition to advertising, but it's not really that way. So branding is the big umbrella that covers everything. All right. So here's a good way to look at it. So this is a model of brand. Right. It shows what all the elements are and how they're connected, so that you understand what connects with what when you're building a brand. If anyone wants to read this, you can download this for free at a website called Dubberly.com, Dubberly, Dubberly.com, and look for model of brand, and you can print this out as a giant poster and study it. And you'll see that up in the right-hand corner, That's the part that advertising touches, not all the other stuff. So what is all that stuff? Well, you know, that's important stuff too. So you need to know a lot of stuff to manage a brand. It's not just advertising. I'll try to make this simple. This is marketing. I'm a great lover, he says. This is telemarketing. Calls her up. This is public relations. So this is better, right? Someone else tells you he's a great lover. This is advertising. You just keep, it's like marketing, but you say it over and over and over again. Design is wordless. It's just all symbols. And finally, branding. It's when someone understands something about you without you having to say anything that you've achieved branding. Right? So that's what you want to happen. So here's what's happening to advertising. I'm not worried about advertising agencies. They're going to be fine because they're really smart people and they're going to figure this out. But in the last 10 or 20 years, they've had a hard time because the model that we've used for advertising, which is one-way communication, is not working so well anymore. People don't want one-way communication. They want two-way communication. In fact, they would like to be the one talking. So what's happened is this is what I call a doom loop, okay? So when a company sees that its advertising is less effective, what does it do? It creates more intrusive ads. It says, well, obviously there's a lot of clutter, there's a lot of noise in the marketplace, so what we're going to do is we're going to be more intrusive, we're going to be louder, we're going to be more obnoxious, we're going to be more shocking. And you know what? It works. In the short term, because people do notice it. But the effect is not good. So what happens is people tune out. They start hating advertising even more. So they stop listening to advertising, which leads to advertising becomes less effective again. And if you keep doing the same thing, you respond in the same way, it just gets worse and worse. It just goes down and down and down. Every time you respond to this tuning out by being louder, they tune out more. So this hasn't worked for advertising. But a lot of advertising agencies were bragging that their ads were more intrusive for a long time. Here's another sort of fix that didn't work for advertising agencies. Okay, same problem. Advertising becomes less effective. Oops. Let's go back one here. So the industry disguises the ads as content, right? It looks like editorial, or it looks like it's product placement in a TV series or a movie, but let's not let them know it's advertising. Well, you know what? That works too, in the short term, right? Until they figure out what's going on. When they figure out what's going on, you know, they distrust advertising even more, and that leads to worse advertising, and if you keep doing that, you go down. So these two tactics have not worked to save advertising. What's going to save it is something completely different. All right. What will replace it? Branding. Advertising agencies need to find out that they are an input of branding. Branding is the arena in which they work, and once they start to understand what branding really is, that it's not selling in the manner that advertising agencies have done forever, it's something different, then the world opens up to them and they start to realize, well, I've got to make that thing happen where people say, I understand you're a great lover, right? That's what has to happen. Okay, number 3. This is another myth. Social marketing will replace branding. In other words, branding is just a fad, and the next thing is social marketing. Wrong. Social marketing is branding on steroids. It's branding taken to the max, right? Because social marketing is word of mouth, basically. It's people talking to people. And what are they going to talk about? They're going to talk about what they know about the company. Remember what we said, It's what they say it is, not what you say it is. So whatever they say it is, that's what they're going to talk about. And they're really going to talk about it. And they want to know more about every company and every product. So this is what you have to work with. So understanding branding is the key to social marketing. And you'll learn more about this today as we go. Right? So why is branding suddenly so hot? Because it's been around for a long time. Why is it hot now? Well, a few reasons. One is that people have a lot more choices today than they did before, right? And they also know that if they wait long enough, most competitors, most offerings will catch up with each other, right? So, if Audi has a special new feature on their car this year, they know that BMW will have it next year. They're not worried about that. So that's not a big issue. And because of these first two things, they base their decisions on trust. Trust is really key to this branding thing. Okay, so, all right, so there are 1,349 cameras on the market, right? A lot of competitors, right? How do you choose which camera to buy? I mean, that's a lot of cameras to think about. So, well, I'll ask you. Who has bought a digital camera, say, in the last year? Anybody? You, sir? What did you buy? Do you remember?
I bought a Sony.
A Sony? Okay. And, okay, there you go. Not an unknown brand. To make that decision, what was your research? How did you find out about it?
I was told by a friend.
He's a great lover. Was told by a friend. Yeah. No, not him. The camera. The camera. I was talking about the camera. So, all right. You just talked to a friend. Anything else? That was it?
Well, I've seen the pictures he made with the camera.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else buy a camera recently that had a different experience? In the back there, sir? Canon? And read something online. Did you go to one of those websites that reviews cameras? Yeah. Okay. So that's another way to find out. Anybody else have a different way to research their camera choice? Anybody? Anybody go to a store and talk to maybe the salesperson? Anybody? Raise your hand. So there's one, there's another one. Okay, another way to find out. But I think if you look at all the ways you find out about brands, since there are 1,300 brands, it all has to do with trusting somebody. You trust somebody. So that's what branding is about, is how do we get people to trust us? And if we lie to them, they're not going to trust us for very long. It may work for a while, but it's not going to work for very long. So that means we really have to think about building a brand that stands for something that people can count on. It's really important. All right? And so that's it. It's trust. How do you build trust? Building a brand is like building trust. Another way to think about a brand is that it's your reputation in the marketplace. That's the easiest way. It's your reputation. And you know from having a personal reputation that you can't always control your reputation. There are people who will say bad things about you, and possibly not true. And so what you can do your best to influence people, and you should, but you can't control them entirely. But you do your best to be a trustworthy person, to be a person of substance that people can count on, and then your life is much better. So it's the same with brands. Right, trust. So trust comes from meeting and beating expectations, right? It used to be enough that if you just made a product that worked, you would win. People would buy that product because it did what it said it's going to do. But now there's so much competition that you really need to offer something more than reliability. You need to offer delight. So the formula is this: T equals R plus D. Trust equals reliability plus delight. So if your brand isn't delivering delight at some level, it's not going to be able to compete for very long. You really have to make people happy that they chose your brand because they have so many choices. Number 4. Branding is only for consumer products. It's not for me because my product is business to business, and our customers, we only have 5 of them and they know us, and so branding isn't important. Wrong. It's super important if you have 5 customers because they can go someplace else, and it's just that how you build your brand is going to be different with that sort of company. So let's look at the different ways you have to look at this. Right? It's for all products and services. Okay, so we could divide it up this way. Product at the top, service at the bottom, business to consumer, and business to business. So we get 4 quadrants. Right? So on the product side, the trust, customers tend to trust the company. Right? That's where the trust goes, to the company. On the service side, it's more about the people. Okay, so an example would be, so I bought my iPhone because I trust Apple is going to make a good product. I've heard great things about them, so I trust that company, that everything they do is going to be good. But when I chose my bank, let's say, I chose it maybe because I like the people. Or the laundry service down the block. I like the people at that laundry, and I don't like the people at the other laundry. They don't listen to me, and they mess up my clothes. So, I trust the people. So that's a bit of a difference. On the B2C side, customer side, branding tends to be visible, right? So Apple, again, is another example of a B2C company. So all their branding efforts are things you can see. They're out in the open. They're television and billboards and the products themselves and all that kind of stuff. All right. And on the business to business side, it's going to be more invisible inputs to branding. You build it in a different way, but they're all very important. You just put your effort and your investment in a different place. Okay, so here's what I mean between invisible and visible. So visible is like collateral, brochures and so forth. Advertising, partner communications, photography, web design, all that kind of stuff. On the invisible side, it's more like the vision of the CEO that counts. It's employee training. These are really important brand building tools, pricing strategy. Now, both of these are important for both kinds of companies, but it's a different weight shift, depending on what you're doing. The emphasis is different. So that's the only difference. All these companies need branding because they need customers to trust them. All right, number 5, myth. A company exists for its shareholders. Now, this is something that I've been working on for about 10 years to try to get companies to understand that they have more audiences than just their shareholders. But the way it has been and still is for a lot of companies is if you look on their website and you look at their mission, it's something like, we exist to serve our shareholders. Shareholders. So if that's your audience, shareholders, then you behave a certain way. You prioritize them and you deprioritize your customers, your employees, the society in which you operate. All that stuff gets second place. That is no longer a recipe for success. That's not going to work. Not in the long run. So that's a myth. Today, a company exists for its customers. The customers have to be the priority. The shareholders have a residual claim on the profits, a part of the profits, that's all. And so the way it works is like this. This is sort of the modern way you design a company. You can start anywhere. So let's start up with management. So this part of the figure eight is the inside the company, and this is more outside the company. So management's job is to nurture employees. That's what management should do. It should be on the side of employees. Employees should serve customers. Customers should attract investors, okay? That's what investors look for, is how many customers do you have? What are the, how well is this company likely to do in the future? So that's what they're looking at. And as soon as you take market share and customers out of the equation, investors lose interest. So then investors' job is to support management, not to try to extract money from management. So this is what a healthy company looks like. And then around the outside, you've got partners and suppliers who succeed by helping the company succeed. Their successes are all wrapped in the company. So when you look at it like this, everything changes in how you run your company, and your brand is different too. But when you see a company that does it a different way, you should be worried. And I would pull your money out of that company because it's not going to last very long. You know, the best companies put customers first and investors last. But investors are very happy because the company has customers that trust it. Make sense? I know this is kind of new information, and to tell you everything I know in 2 hours is asking a lot, but I think it's important. Okay, 6. Your biggest competition is rival companies. Okay? Wrong. Your biggest competition is clutter. Now, this may not seem like what you have heard, but I think today, because there's so much competition and the marketplace is so full of stuff, I mean, it's really easy to manufacture stuff today, so people are manufacturing stuff. And so getting a share of someone's mind, a customer's mind, is really difficult, So really, this is probably the most important thing I will say today, this one. So we're going to go a little bit slowly into this one, and then I'm going to give you a little exercise so you can practice on it. But all right, so how does this work? All right, this is clutter. I mean, we've seen this, right? I mean, it's bad in the United States, but I can walk down the street here in Prague and see a lot of brands clamoring for my attention, right? And a lot of choices out there. It's very confusing to customers, so they're looking for help. They really are. They say, just tell me why I should love your company or your product and not their company or their product. Tell me, just tell me. And most companies can't do it. They're very timid about being different, okay? So there's 5 kinds of market clutter. There's product clutter, and that's, just too many products out there. This is Crest toothpaste. Do you have this? No, probably not. It's an American brand. There are 17 varieties of this toothpaste in one store. 17. I don't know what they're thinking because, I look at all those choices and I just give up and I just go, I'm going to buy Tom's toothpaste over here because there's only one of that. And I know what Tom stands for, so, I'm going to use Tom. So they're just making it hard for themselves. All right, that's one kind of clutter. Another one is feature clutter. It's so easy to put features on things. We just make features for everything, and it's as if companies think, if I just add one more feature, then the competitor, they're going to buy mine because I have that extra feature. People don't really want features. They don't want that many features. They just want the right features, So adding a feature because you can is not a very good reason. Advertising clutter, as you can see, there's a lot of ads out there. All competing, sometimes in the same space. Message clutter, sometimes ads have a lot of competing messages right in one ad. I mean, they're just like competing with themselves. It's terrible. It just makes you want to turn the page. And finally, the media clutter. There's so many channels to put your message out in that people can't even choose between channels. I mean, this is just TV channels, but we've got web channels, we've got blogs, we've got, you know, print media, we've got a million ways to get messages out there. And it's just overwhelming to people. So what do? They tune out, right? Makes it hard for everybody to get their message through. So this is the biggest problem you have to face, and it's just going to get worse. So the winners in this environment will be the ones who can stand out from the crowd and make their product or service, put it in the foreground and make the rest of this look like wallpaper, right? We want it to look like it's just background. And it's not too hard if you know what you're doing, because most of it is background. It's all the same stuff, just repeating and repeating and repeating. There's so many companies that just want to be like other companies that it just makes it easy to just, you know, be different and stand out. So in theory, it's very easy. In practice, you've got a lot of people you have to persuade, so it becomes more difficult. But that's why I'm here talking about this, because once you understand it, it'll be easier. The problem is that a wealth of information creates a poverty of attention, right? The more stuff that's out there, the less anybody understands. It's just overwhelming, right? So this is how it happens. This is what happens to people. We only have so many spaces in our minds, like little file folders in our minds for different categories. And when those are filled, we tend to just stop, right? So let's say I have a category for ecologically designed car, okay? And I've decided in that little slot it's going to be a Prius. I've got it filled, and once I have it filled, I don't want to hear from anybody else. I don't need to know. I'm too busy. Let's say I have another slot in there for a bank, right? And I've chosen AirBank because, wow, that's like, there's nothing like it. And once I put it in that slot, nobody's going to be able to take that out. I don't want to be bothered with it. I already know which bank I like. I'm going with AirBank, and that's that, you know. I have other things I have to do. So as these get full, you know, there's no room for anything else. And that's why branding is so important, because it builds a barrier to competition. Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. So in the old days, back in the Industrial Revolution, let's say that you were smart and you built a factory, one of the first factories, so you could make stuff quicker and cheaper than anyone else. Well, that gave you a barrier to competition, because the competitors didn't know how to do it, they didn't have the money to do it, whatever it is, they didn't get it. And so you just kept succeeding and getting richer and richer while they starved, because you had a barrier to competition that they couldn't break through. Well, eventually everybody figured out that they needed a factory, so they got a factory, and that barrier to competition fell. But another barrier took its place, and that was capital. If I could get more capital, more money, then I could build more factories, and you can't, because you can't get capital. And so the rich got richer once again, because that was the new barrier to competition. We have more money, we have more momentum than you do. Okay, so, but after a while, capital was easier to get for everyone, and so that barrier to competition fell. And what took its place, for the most part, was intellectual capital. If I could protect my product with a patent, then I could keep competition away. And that's what's going on now. There's a lot of patent battles, a lot of intellectual property lawsuits, people trying to build these barriers. Okay, but the thing is, because things are changing so quickly and companies are innovating so quickly, those patents don't hold for very long. You know, companies just figure out a way around it. So what's taking its place rapidly is brands. A brand is a barrier to competition because it's right in people's heads. The walls that we build around brands are the barriers to competition. Right? So it's gotten very ethereal, because it used to be that a barrier to competition was bricks and mortar. It was a real thing. It was something that a company could control. And over the years, it got less and less material and more, sort of just air, basically. Until now, the barrier to competition is really feelings. That's the barrier to competition. It's the person's feelings about a product creates a barrier to competition. So we're all managing this barrier, in sort of, unknown territory, because feelings are kind of hard to guess at. But we're managing to do it, and design firms and advertising agencies and strategists in companies are figuring out how to manage emotions of their customers. And that's where the winners and losers are, right? So it's a very sophisticated game we're playing here. Meaning has become the new money. It used to be you wanted capital, now it's meaning. If you can create meaning for your brand, for your company, in people's minds, you can win the game. But of course, meanings can change. So you have to be very careful with your brand. If you live by the brand, you can die by the brand, So it's a dangerous situation, but it's the best shot we have to keep competitors away from our space. So, fact, our brains act as powerful filters. We think about the brain as sort of an organ that takes in information. Our senses take in information and about the world, and then we act on it. Well, actually, a big part of what our brain does is filter out information. In fact, that's mostly what it does. It filters out things we don't need. So the only thing that gets through is what we absolutely need at the moment. Now, that's a problem if you're trying to communicate with people, because they're just going to filter it out unless they perceive that it's important. So this is what you have to keep in mind. Quick, which dot did you see? Duh. The black one, right? You can't not notice it, because our visual system is built to notice what's different. As human beings, we've evolved to notice things that are different. We notice something that's a different color, or something that's moving in a field that's not moving, or we notice something big when it's against a lot of small things. We notice that difference. Noticing that difference was really important to our survival, because that different thing might be food, or it might be danger. It might be someone we know and we have to respond to. Those kinds of things are just built in. So this is the same principle as standing out from a crowd in branding. You need to be different. It's very basic. We're hardwired to notice what's different. The solution: be different. Be different. This is so hard for us to be different, because we are afraid to be different, especially companies. The established companies are really afraid to be different, because they don't want the responsibility if it fails, because it's very easy to see who did that different thing. However, this is how you become successful too. So if you're not brave enough to be different, well, good luck to you. I think you're just going to be trailing behind, picking up the crumbs. And a lot of people are happy to do that. I'm not, and in Silicon Valley, nobody is. They all want to win. They want to win big, and they don't want to sweat it the rest of their lives. So they try to do something big and bold and important that the world actually needs. It starts by being different. So being different is, if you don't remember anything else that I've told you today, remember that. You're going to go back and you're going to make your brand more different. That is the absolute foundation of brand strategy. You cannot get anywhere without that. It starts with that. Everything else is built on top of that difference. Okay, so I hope I've convinced you. So just remember this. This is very simple. When everybody zigs, zag. Just, it's counterintuitive, because when everybody zigs, you want to zig too, because it looks like so much fun. Well, don't do it. Think about how you can go another way and be more important doing that. All right? Okay, so this is called positioning. And to win the positioning game, you just have to answer this question. It's very simple and very difficult. What makes you the only? The only. This is the strictest test you can apply to a brand, and that's why it's worth doing. It's very difficult to keep that up, that onlyness. But if you keep trying, you can win this. Okay, here's some examples. Do you know the Aeron chair? You know that? Do you know that chair? It's the office chair. It's kind of strange looking. Okay, so when they started, they wanted to redefine ergonomic design. They wanted to create a chair that was so comfortable that you could sit in it for a week and never get tired, never have a backache. And to do that, they had to redesign the whole concept of a chair. And they did. And they created this position. They redefined ergonomic design. Okay, so let's do another one. Prius is the only hybrid car that symbolizes dedication to the environment. There are other hybrid cars, but everyone thinks about Prius because in that box in their heads, Prius filled the box. Right? So that's a very powerful position they have. Do you know Cirque du Soleil? You know the circus? Do you have that here? They come here. They're great. They're fantastic, aren't they? Okay, well, they have an onlyness. The only circus with Broadway sophistication. In other words, they bring the sort of quality of art and drama into the circus, where before it was just a lot of animals and every circus was kind of the same thing. So they really went into a different space. Harley Davidson, the motorcycles. The only motorcycle that makes you a modern American cowboy, right? So there's this image of mavericks, people who drive these loud motorcycles. They're only driving them on the weekend, when they get time off from working at the bank. But it makes them feel really bad, really tough. So that's something. People like that, and they'll pay a lot of money for that. Okay, so here's what I'm going to have you do. Can we start passing out the exercise sheets? Who's going to do that? You've got them already? The onlyness, it says the only blank that blanks? Perfect. Okay. All right, so what I want you to do is choose a brand to work on, and I suggest think of one brand. If you manage a brand, use that one. If you work for a company, that could be the brand that you work on. If you work at an advertising agency or a design firm, you may want to pick one of your clients, or you may want to just choose your own company because you need a brand too. And I'm going to give you like 10 minutes, 15 minutes to work on this, and then we're going to talk about it. So what you do is you...
Máte všichni papíry? Sorry, Marty. I just want to ask you. Máte všichni papíry? Nemáte? Holky s papírama? Kde jste? Holka s papírem.
Are we still
Všichni
passing
byste
them
měli
out?
mít jeden. Tady si s dovolením půjčím, vrátím. Všichni byste měli mít jeden papír. Jedinečnost, onlyness, a jeden papír s nějakou značkou. Jsou ty značky tady různý a je to jako ve škole. Dva sousedící lidi by neměli mít stejnou značku, abyste neopisovali. Takže je tam třeba Chibo, Porsche, takže různý značky vedle sebe, žádný opisování.
Are you sure you're giving him the right one? It's not the sacrifice game, right? It's the onlyness.
It's the onlyness,
Okay,
yeah.
good. Okay.
Takže teď důležitý papír onlyness. Kdo nemáte onlyness, když tak se taky jako ve škole hlašte, abych vám doputoval.
Okay, are we ready?
I
We still
think,
passing
yeah.
them out?
Yeah. It's only one hand there, two hands. Už to máte vyplněný, jo? Okay, I think it's okay.
It's okay, good, okay. So, I'm not sure if you have two, do you have two blanks to fill in or one? Can you, or three rather, two, there should be two empty blanks or three. Which one is it?
There are three empty.
Three, just like
Yeah.
this?
It's this version,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, good. All right, here's what you do. In the first blank, you put your brand, the name of your brand. All right? So that's easy. You just, you don't even have to fill it in. You just know what it is. in the second blank, you put the category that you compete in, all right? So this category should be the way customers would think about you. They would say, Airbank is a bank. They would say, Harley is a motorcycle. So Harley is the only motorcycle that blanks. Airbank is the only bank that blanks. So you got to figure out what business you're in, right? So that's what you're doing there, is what category are you competing in? And then the third one is the hard one. You got to make that really short. So it's the only bicycle that has 6 wheels, you know, or whatever it is. It's probably not going to have 6 wheels, so it's going to be harder than that. But the thing that you put in that last blank should be compelling. It should be the most compelling thing about your brand. It should be the reason people are buying your brand and not some other brand. Because that thing you put in the third category is differentiating, right? It's what makes you different and better. That's what we're trying to do. And you may find out when you do this that actually you're not different and maybe not so much better. So that's why this is useful, because then you can say, well, what do we need to do to be different and better? Where are we failing? What do we need? Where do we need to turn up the volume? Okay? So before you start, any questions about differentiation, standing out for the crowd, or about this exercise before we start? So we know we're clear. Anybody?
Máte někdo nějaké otázky k tomuto cvičení? Rozumíte všichni zadání? No questions.
No? Everybody get it so far? Well, you just do your best, and then we'll talk about it. We'll ask for a few volunteers, and we'll just see how people are doing, and I'll kind of critique them. And this is really hard, so if it seems hard, you're doing it right. Okay. All right. So 10 minutes, and then we'll talk about them. Ready? Go.
No, otázky?
Question?
Ano,
Question?
question.
Benefit is something that we think that we are, or that we think that our customers.
You remember what I said before, it's not what you think that counts. It's what they think. So let's do it that way. So it has to be something that your customer would say, well, the reason I buy that is because blah, blah, blah. And, you know, if enough people are saying that, you might have a great brand. It's only for your target customers, not everybody, right? I mean,
If we think that our customers think that, or we want our customers to think that in the future.
I'll let you do that either way. Okay, you can talk about your brand the way it is now. Maybe you already know that it's not a very differentiated brand, so you might want to do it the other way and say, this is what we'd like it to be, and take a guess at what you could do with it that would make it that. Either way, the main thing I want to do here is give you a chance to stretch your brain a little bit on this, because it's really the essence of branding, and it's very difficult to do right. So, you know, Airbank is the only bank that people like, is amazingly simple and beautiful, right? So it's really good. And that actually is a pretty easy, the bar is very low in banking to do that, but still to have the guts to do that is really good. And so now once you know that, you can start building your brand on that. You can start making that come true. Okay, but it starts with this. Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, let's go for it. I'll meet you back here in 10 minutes. How are we doing? Who needs more time?
Kdo potřebuje víc času?
A little bit, not too much. I think you're
Random.
probably close enough.
Pan René jež potřebuje více času.
At least you've had time to struggle with this. Okay, so how was that? Hard? Hard? Easy? What? How many people thought it was hard? How many people thought it was easy? So more hard than easy. Okay. I think if it's easy, you're not doing it right. It's really hard for me. It takes me a week to do this with my clients. So let's see how you all did. Who wants to tell us what you came up with? Anybody? We need some brave people here to share what they have.
Kdo se chce jako první podělit o to, co splodil? Někdo se přihlašte tamhle, ano, tak já běžím s
Okay, over
mikrofonem.
here. Yeah.
Okay, I work in a Symbio, and
What
I
is
think,
that? Hold on, we'll stop right there.
I think that Symbio is the only digital agency that makes user experience playful.
Ah, okay. So you're designing what? What kinds of things? Apps, websites, what?
Yes,
Apps.
websites,
Everything.
everything.
And so this is what you do: is you try extra hard to make things fun.
Yes, that's what we do.
Okay. All right. It sounds good. Is it true that you're the only ones?
Well, you can ask our clients here.
Okay. Let's ask them. Give them the microphone. This is important.
Kde je klient? Kde máte klienta? Nebo klienty? T-Mobile, kde je T-Mobile? Začneme se tady pěkně představovat. Nevidím žádnou ruku z T-Mobile, už vidím. Tady popojedu autem kousek.
Yeah, we have to check your story here, because. Well, are they the only ones that do playful?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so?
They are great.
Okay, that's it. Yeah. I mean, the reason that's okay is because you don't need the whole world to believe that. You just need enough important customers, clients, to believe that to win, right? So now that you know that about yourself, you need to and it's working. You need to, turn up the volume on that and really make sure everyone knows it, and then you'll continue to be successful. Now you may get some competition along the way. If another company sees that you're being successful because you're winning awards or something, they're going to want to do that too. So you have to stay focused, and you have to continually remind everybody that you were first and you're doing it better. And you can hold that position for a long time. So good job. Okay. Okay, who else has one? Maybe even from a different industry. Would be fun.
Nebojte.
Come on,
Tamhle.
be brave.
Výborně. Aspoň se proběhnu.
Of course, it has to be way on the other side, so she has to run around. That's okay. Okay.
Hello.
Hi. So what is your brand?
So our brand is Ton, T-O-N,
Okay.
and we have a chair, which I think is long-lasting for more than 20 years because of its quality.
Okay. So how did you write that in your onlyness? The only chair. That.
Is long-lasting for 20 years.
The only chair that lasts for 20 years. Is that true?
Wooden chair.
A wooden chair. The only wooden chair. Okay. We could say that. The only wooden chair that lasts 20 years.
Our customers say that.
But okay, that's is that true though? Because I have chairs that I've had for more than 20 years. When I was first married, we got some chairs, and we still have them. That's long time. So to me, that doesn't sound strong enough, compelling enough. If you said 200 years, that's interesting, right?
But
And-
we are on the market just for 150 years, so
Okay.
we can't.
Are some of those original chairs still around? Okay, so they last 150 years. There you go. I think that's more impressive than 20. But maybe it's a very difficult thing to prove, and maybe it's not the most compelling thing you could say. So that one I'd have to really think about and know more about your company to make sure. It doesn't seem like what we would call a slam dunk in basketball. It seems like a claim other people could make. So you got to be careful. If you claim something that your competitor can say something like, over here, our chair lasts for 25 years, right? Or 50 years, you could lose that game. So you want to make sure you play a game that you can win. Okay, anybody else? This is fun, don't you think? Okay, somebody else? A different kind of product or
Jestli se
service?
nebudete hlásit, já z někoho vyberu. Ano, výborně.
One question.
Okay.
Hello,
Hi.
my name is Zsolt, and we are a producer of sanitary equipment. I mean bathtubs, bathrooms, whatever.
Okay.
Our brand is Yika, and I'm a little bit confused because 10 minutes it's not enough.
It's not, I know. It was not very nice of me to make you do that in 10 minutes.
And a lot of things that we would like to, that our customers think about us, but I think what they know here in Czech Republic, to make it more simple, that Yika is the only sanitary ware that I know. But the truth is that this is not the best argument, that we would like to give them something more benefits, but really it's difficult to find out what they think about us here in Czech Republic.
Why? Why is it difficult?
Because we would like to create kind of image that Yika is a whole bathroom, but they know us only because we are 135 years here in this environment, let's say. They know us only as a sanitary ware, only as a wash basin and toilets. But we want them to take us like a complete bathroom.
Right. So just being what you are now, is that successful?
Yes, we are a market leader. We are quite good.
So you're number one
Yes.
in your market in that category.
Yes.
And when you expand to be the whole bathroom, that's going to bring you into competition with some other players.
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to win there?
In category by category, probably not. But as a full concept, probably yes.
Okay. So well, that's important, though, because if you extend your brand by adding more to it, and it brings you into competition with someone stronger, it's a bad idea. It may make some money in the short term, but in the long term, you give up your onlyness, and someone else can take it. So that's very dangerous. But if you're willing to invest in that, and you have some way of being the whole bathroom in some new way, you can leverage what you've already done and make that very powerful, but you have to take a bit of a risk to be different in that bigger category also. So that's the danger. We're going to talk about that a little more after the break,
Yes.
how you extend a brand.
That's
Okay,
why I think that 10 minutes is not enough.
Yeah, you're right.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, let's do one more before we take a little break. Okay?
Přednostníme. Jste měl otázku?
Oh, that's right. Yes, this man in the back has been waiting. We're going to do a couple more. Don't worry. I just decided.
Já tady dáma. Upřednostním dámu a následně teda.
AFS is the only educational organization that is connecting lives and sharing cultures.
The only educational organization that's connecting lives and sharing cultures. How do you do that?
Through exchange programs
Exchange programs.
for high school students.
You're the only one?
No?
Oh, well, you're the only
No,
one that...
but you know, this is the branding we are in the process on sort of supporting and make our students and families and schools understand that we are not only that kind of subject who sends students abroad and as well hosts students in the Czech Republic, but as well provides so-called intercultural learning, which is the value.
So that's the real difference right in there.
Well, yeah.
Is it, does everyone know that? Are you famous for it?
Well, that's what I said, that we are just
Starting.
in a process, yeah.
Okay. Well, it's important that they say that that's what you are, and that you're able to make that difference seem very important and big, blow it up so it's big. And maybe it'll work, but that has to be, your effort has to go into that. A lot of effort has to go into that. And you can't just say it once or twice and hope people get it.
No, it's been on the table for past 3 years maybe, and we all feel that we are in the beginning still.
Right. Sometimes with, that's a fairly abstract idea, so you really need to make it very strong. It should be the first thing you read on your website, Okay, in the back, finally getting around to you. Thanks for being patient.
Hi, can I ask you for one advice? Can you give me advice in branding? And I mean to myself, because I have a problem.
Is this something you should be paying me for? I'm not sure I should answer.
No. Okay, can I ask you or not?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You have my permission.
I do lots of things, I do graphic design, web design, product design, whatever. And everyone around me tells me, focus, 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 focus. And every time I try to focus in one field of design, I achieve something. And there is a mandatory information. I will never give up all the things I do. What can I do for my brand to tell people that I do everything what they want? Because they don't know what I do.
Yes, that's right. That's a really good illustration of the problem. And I was a graphic designer, and that's the way I felt. I said, I design, I illustrate, I write, I can design anything. I can design more than graphics. I can design you a house, I can do it all. And this just was not working for me. No one wants to hear that message, because that's the same. I don't know if you have the saying in Czech, but we call that kind of person a jack of all trades, or a handyman. A handyman is the guy who comes over to your house, and he'll fix your plumbing, and he'll fix your electricity, and he'll build you another room, and you don't pay him very much, and you don't really trust that he does very fine work. You don't believe that he does, even if he does. You think he's not that good because he's a handyman. A good example would be, let's say you have a heart condition and you need to get a heart operation. Are you going to go to a general practitioner, the guy that does your family and gives you pills for your cold? Or are you going to go to the surgeon who does heart operations one after another? Who do you trust? Now, your doctor, your general practitioner may be just as good or even a better surgeon. Are you going to trust him with it? Probably not. You're going to want to go to the person that has done it a million times, and everyone else is trusted. That's just the way people are. So you have to take advantage of that situation by becoming something, filling a niche that no one else has fulfilled, and you have to pick one that you love. And all that other stuff, you have to figure out what to do with it. But, okay, there's a lot of things you can do. Okay, you could be a handyman, a jack of all trades, in a small town where you're the only one, or you're the best one. And, you can do everything. You can do advertising, design, whatever you want, all that stuff, I can do it. But your whole idea is that you're only in this town, you're the best known one. Well, that'll get you pretty far. I mean, I did that, so I became the most famous designer in my town, but after a while, it wasn't enough money, so I had to go beyond that. And what I found is that as soon as I specialized in something that nobody else specialized in, life became very easy, and I could still do all the other things I wanted to do, but I just put them in underneath. You know, I just didn't feature them. So that's another thing you can do. The important thing, though, is when you pick your niche, you pick something you love, and you're going to love for a long time, and also that people value, so it pays enough money so you can have more freedom, basically. Now, one thing I did is, this, because it's an apt example, so I was a designer who liked to do a lot of things, but I knew I needed to specialize, so what I picked was something where I could use all my talents in one thing. I decided I would be the only design firm that specialized in software packaging for business software that was sold in a store. That's pretty specific, right? Well, I liked it because I discovered that I needed to do research, and I like to do research, and so I found out what a package had to say. I found that the front of the package had to be like a poster. I love designing posters, so it has to be like a poster. What's on the poster has to symbolize the product. I love doing symbols. The back of the package is like an advertisement. I love doing advertisements. So all this stuff gave me scope to do what I wanted to do, and I was the only one who knew how to do it. So I figured out how to do it. But it took some thinking. It took me 20 years to come to this point in my life where I could do that. Okay? Right? I had to figure it out because there was nobody like me telling me, you know, how to do this. I had to figure it out. And the other designers were just like me. They were trying to do everything. They thought of themselves as Renaissance people. But business people don't want to work with Renaissance people. They want to work with a specialist who is the best, who everyone says is the best in this one thing that they want right now. All right? So you just have to make sure that one thing is something that, you know, you can make a living doing. But that's the hard truth of the situation. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
My friend over here that's got the software, tell me about yours, because you told me little. Yeah, microphone. One more. Yeah. In the middle towards the left side here. And then we'll take a break. Okay.
Okay. Hello,
So,
everyone.
tell us a little about your product, and then...
I'm Mirek, and I run a company which is called Open Brand. And it is the only online collaboration platform for creative people and brands that organizes all the creative information, saves everyone's time, and has Marty Neumeier's exercises built in.
There you go.
That's
Well,
what we do.
okay. So it's too long. So can you shorten it? First of all, the category.
We usually don't mention your part.
Well, probably not. No, that can be a feature that you add later. So the category is online. What?
It's like collaboration platform or
A collaboration platform.
data
Okay.
storage.
Yeah, creative collaboration platform. That's enough. The only creative collaboration platform that
organizes creative information.
blah, blah, blah. Give me something more
I see
concrete.
some benefit. So saves time, makes life easier, or
I'm not hearing it. Right, so that's where you've got to make that super clear. Because if you say that organizes information, well, I'm going to guess that everyone who does this organizes information.
okay.
So it's got to be something more than that. You could say that it's the only one that organizes it according to Marty Neumeier's collaboration scheme or something like that, but I don't think anybody would know what you're talking about. 10 or 11 people in the world, so that's probably not going to get you very far. But I'm sure it's in there. You just have to figure out what it is. It's going to be very small, that advantage, and then you have to start blowing that up by making it more that way. Because if you try to be everything to everybody, that's when you lose, because everyone knows how to do everything. Every company knows how to add features and make things bigger. They don't know how to subtract features. And this is where the advantage is having the fewest number of the most important features or benefits.
Okay.
So I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the it's something sort of more high level, like it's the only collaboration platform that works the way real creative people work, you know?
It basically sorts out the model, so that's...
Yeah, and then that's still a little bit vague, so you have to like explain that over and over, how real creative people work and how you've figured that out, if you have indeed figured it out. But that's the thing that would make me go, great, tell me what you think creative people do, and if I agree with it, I may be on your side. So, you know, but that could be very powerful. Okay, so great, that was great. You guys did good. Thanks. All right, so let's take, what do we have, 10 minutes, 15 minutes? How are we doing on time? Somebody? Anybody keeping time? No? I think we should take a short break, but maybe just, I don't know, how long?